Okay. All right, we are live. And we have a fabulous new course today on a topic that, all right, I'm going to be really honest here. Can I use the word suck at it, or is that totally not right? I'm really, really bad at it. Networking skills. If you're an introvert like me, you know that doing stuff like that, especially if it's in person and live, is exhausting. Oh, totally exhausting. When I have to go to a live event, I force myself to do it. I do all the networking, but by the end of the day, I am wiped out. I can't do anything. Whereas, like, my husband is an extrovert and he just loves that stuff. He's really great at it. And it's like, come on, Sharon, let's go. Let's go. Let's talk to more people. Please don't make me. But you're very good at networking, Sarah, and you know the
Um,
benefits of it.
I used to run a pub, so you have to talk to people if you run a pub. And my family call it pub face, that I can switch it on and be charming and happy and joyful at the click of a finger and then switch it off immediately afterwards. And it used to freak Kevin, my husband, out the first 20 times he experienced it. And then he's like, oh, it's pub face. This is
Pub
her
face.
mask that she slips on when she's having to do this. And
Uh-huh.
I think it ties in with Todd Herman's Alter Ego. If you've ever read that book, he talks about when you're doing things you're not comfortable with, you imagine an alter ego and you slip on the alter ego's cape or coat or whatever, and then you sort of live up to the expectations of the alter ego. And then whenever you've done what you're doing, you slip the coat or cape back off and breathe out.
Well, that's exactly what I have to do when I go into any sort of networking situation. I have to put myself in a certain frame of mind, confidence, and actually in the new course, Essential Business Networking Skills, there's an exercise to help you with that.
Well, that's good,
So,
isn't it? Because this is a really powerful thing that 20 years ago I would have loved, you would have loved, you know. And here we are developing it and sharing it with you to teach to your students. Aren't you going to be like world famous and popular with people for this?
oh yeah, this is something that is absolutely essential to growing your business. And it's actually the easiest way as well. By the way, I'm just sort of echoing a bit um, out of your speakers.
Ah, I will mute myself while you're talking.
Thank you. So, firstly, anyone who's listening, as you come in, introduce yourself. You can make a note in the comments so we know you're here. Tell us, do you love networking or do you hate networking? Or you can have it in between where you're only so so about it. That's okay. But that's what this course is all about. And in this particular course, Essential Business Networking Skills that we're just releasing, it focuses on the interpersonal skills of networking and developing your confidence. And then, of course, there's various tactics and planning for different situations, one-on-one networking. For instance, you're meeting someone for coffee and it's a networking meeting, but also group things like going to a meetup, going to one of your local events. So that's another form of another situation of networking. There's also live ones, sorry, not live, in-person bigger events. And there's the option of setting up your own group networking meeting. So a lot of people, I've heard from customers of ours who set up their own regular meetups and have had phenomenal results with getting leads and clients from that. So it depends on your business. You'll do it the way it works for you. And this is another one of those great courses where you can go through it yourself and teach others. And you can go through it yourself at the same time as you're teaching alongside so that you have stories to tell because you should always be networking. So it doesn't matter if you already think you're pretty good at it. It's still good to go through the course and practice and refresh your memory and hone your skills a bit. So, shall we look at some of the stuff?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The other thing is, when you're networking, while Sharon's opening this up, even if you don't think you're good at it, there are aspects of it that you are better at. And when you get a program like this, there are bits that you will excel at and you can think, gosh, yes, I can add to that. But there are also bits where you're not going to be as great at it and you can learn from it. And then you can test the things out, test the angles and see what you would, oh, I'll try this, it said to do this. And then you can see how it goes in real life. And when it comes to recording your course, you can say, oh, I recommend you do this. Now, when I did this, this is what happened. So you've got this nice little story that shows that you use these skills. So even if you're strong in one area, you don't have to be all in that one area. You've got little stories and anecdotes that you can share about the other areas where you're not as strong. And for me, when I hear somebody training and sharing the first time that they did something, it invariably ends in disaster and you get a little smirk, right? But it humanizes them. It really makes me think, gosh, they're just like me. That's the sort of silly thing that happens to me. And I know that one particular person that I work with, I'm not going to name names, she was out at an event and she tucked her dress into the back of her underwear and nobody told her. And she's a very slender, model-like young woman. And you can imagine the fancy underwear that she was wearing and she tucked her dress in the back. And lots of people kept on approaching her and giving her their card and saying they must meet up for coffee and they must have a meeting and things like that. But nobody ever said, oh, I nearly said her name there, pull your dress out the back of your thong. Nobody said it. Right? And she'd done a lot of networking that day. Now, if I heard somebody share that story, right, I've actually had a similar event when I was much younger happen to me when I was 16, and it was humiliating. But I identify with that in the moment. So when you're sharing this with your audience, not necessarily tucking your dress in the back of your underwear, but when you're sharing this with your audience, that what you've done and how it went with you, they identify with that so strongly. And when you're saying, if you do it like this, this is something that could happen, you're giving them a valuable tip there from your life experience. And ever since it happened to me and meant a whole lifetime ago, the first thing I do when I step out of the doorstep is pull down the back of my skirt, because I'm convinced I'm going to do it again. And I can tell you my client's the same. She does it as well. So if you've got the tip, when you come out of the toilets, make sure that you pulled down and adjusted your clothing. Whilst you may think it's a silly, crazy little tip, the amount of your audience who will identify with that is going to be huge. And those little things are what makes your training different and better than anybody else's.
Yep. Oh, it's like the toilet paper stuck on the bottom of your shoe. Who hasn't had that happen to them?
Or a piece of, over here we have packing tape, like a strip of brown plastic tape, and you spend 10 minutes standing there sort of with your legs and feet at a weird angle trying to stamp it off. And right, if you try and pick it off, it'll get stuck on your fingers and pull your nail polish off. So you kind of do it with your heels, then both of them get stuck, and then your husband has to come up and stamp on it, and then it's stuck on his shoes. So yeah,
okay.
We've all got these stories.
All right, let's start looking at this stuff, all right, before we go off on all the stories. First, let me just show the URL once before I dive in. Pretty obvious, contentsparks.com/networking skills. So when you're ready, to check this out and see if it's right for you, head over and do that. the page looks like, here, let me pull up. It looks like this. All right. So when you go over to the page, you'll see essential business networking skills, how long the launch lasts for, the launch price, which is what is it? A little over 60% off, like 62% or something, is just available for this many days. So it ends on the 27th, July 27th. All right, there's a little add to cart. And then if you want to learn more because you haven't heard enough from us yakking away and showing you, you can go through and
don't want to hear our stories. You just want to dive into the page.
Dive in, grab it. I will show you the launch bonus because that's pretty cool. But now let's just jump into the content. All right, so let me hide this. Remember to just say hi in the comments as you come in. I know a lot of people watch this afterwards. So if you're watching the recordings and you're watching it on Facebook, we will see those comments. And you can say hi, but also remember, put in, do you love it or you hate it with networking? All right. So here are the slides. I like to open these because I can skim through and quickly tell you what it's all about. You'll see that there are notes under each slide, so they can guide when you actually teach this, guide your speaking notes as well. You wouldn't read them, but they're there to guide you. So it'll go into the introduction. You'll talk about the learning objectives of the course. You should always do that. You'll go into a roadmap. So the roadmap on this particular course here, I can make it a little bit bigger by hiding some of that. I'm looking over at my other screen while I do this. You can kind of see that, right? There. So that's the roadmap. You can talk about the different modules. There's establishing targets that'll motivate you, developing self-awareness. You go through a whole thing on interpersonal skills like rapport and questioning and listening, things for building your confidence, planning one-on-one networking meetings. I talked about that earlier, things like grabbing a cup of coffee or a lunch with somebody, planning that and making sure that you get the most out of that. Choosing networking groups and going to networking groups like from Meetup. And also some tips on actually setting up and running your own. The course isn't totally about that, but there's some tips on there because that's sort of your next step in networking, and then some follow-up strategies. So that's the overview, which again, you can see on the sales page as well with a little description of each. The learning objectives, I'm not going to go through each because you can read all that stuff. I think the why networking is, let's see if there's one slide on here. So here's some stuff about it. Benefits: building a community, having peer support, making sales, learning new skills, generating leads. There's a whole bunch of stuff here that you'll be talking about that I think you'll understand already. I think a lot of you really get that, how important networking is for building your business, especially, well, really at any stage. When you're new, it's going to help you with getting that first entry point. You're paying it forward also by helping other people in any way so that later on, when you do need help, they're going to be very happy to help you. It can just be for generating leads, affiliates, problem solving. You're stuck with something in your business. You're not sure what to do next. You can brainstorm with somebody. I've had that happen more than once where I'm like, I wonder if this is a good idea, or maybe are other people having this issue? I can contact somebody in my network who I trust, who I've helped as well in the past, and just brainstorm a little and find out what's going on. And people like that can be strategic partners. You can find new business opportunities. So there's so many things. And networking is also a life skill. Job interviews. I mean, Sarah, you talked about this a bit when we were chatting about it before.
Yeah, my daughter, she has gone from wanting to work in neuroscience to selling her soul and becoming a lawyer. Did I say selling her soul? What I meant was finding a new career trajectory. And one of the things that they have to do when they're on the law trajectory in the UK is have a network of other lawyers and solicitors. Solicitors is the name for our qualified lawyers over here, but I'm going to use lawyers going forward. And one of the things that she's had to do, my daughter, and bear in mind she's not quite 18, she's still young, is set up a profile on LinkedIn and go and connect with hundreds and hundreds of other solicitors and introduce herself, say that she's a law student and she's looking to build her network. Have they got any advice for her and any tips? And many of them come back with tips and advice. Many of them recommend that she goes and connects with other people in their company. And about 3 weeks ago, she had to develop a work experience in a law firm. So the first thing she did was go to her network on LinkedIn and say, I'm looking for a week-long work experience placement. Who can help me? She had one within an hour. And that's because the people who are teaching her law, even though she's not at university level or going to college for law just yet, are telling her to build her network now because she needs it now rather than waiting until she's qualified and practicing at 25, 26 years old. They're telling her to make the connections at 17 years old. So whilst you may think, oh gosh, that's not my audience, youngsters going to university isn't who you're looking to sell this course to, you may have children that you get this and you do it together and learn the skills because they need to build their networks and they need to build it now. And I know that this isn't on my academy to teach, but it is on something for me and my daughter to learn together because she needs the skills right now. And my younger daughter, who's a year younger, she's looking to work in film and art. She's very creative and she's going to need a network too. And I'll be honest with you, it's something that I can't help with. I can't help either of them because I don't know that many lawyers and I don't know that many people in the art world. So they're going to have to develop these connections and these contacts. So having this skill from a young age is brilliant. And it's something that they'll take with them for life. And it's something that they learned with their mum. So I'm looking forward to this particular program for all the wrong reasons. It's not one to sell, it's one to work with the family.
No, it's true. And while this course is focused on the business side, the skills are for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through a little bit of the slides as we go so that you can continue to see what the course is about. So I was just showing there's a lot on tracking, but I wanted to show this particular module on know yourself. So there's a whole module on developing self-awareness so you understand your mindset around networking, your attitudes, your strengths. And there's a great questionnaire. I'm going to open up the student materials because there's student, instructor, and lead gen. And in the student materials, in the action guide, so action guide always has all your worksheets, there's a questionnaire. So let me open that up so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you get to the bit on know yourself, there's a whole questionnaire you will have people fill in. You can do yourself as well, that looks back at your experience of networking, specific events maybe, and then looking at how you feel about it. Why did you attend? What did you get out? What did you expect to get out of it? Your preparation, really going through your experience so you can see where your attitudes are coming from, how you feel about it. Because once you have that self-awareness, it's going to help you moving forward in having the right mindset and developing your skills. So that's a really useful exercise to go through that's in this particular one, the Know Yourself module. So that is the point of that particular module. So it's also knowing your own strengths. So you go through that, and then there's a whole module. I said that this course focuses on the interpersonal skills and confidence. So there's a big meaty module on that where you go into, these are the key skills. So you've got active listening, effective questioning, and rapport building. These are all absolutely critical for all your networking, all your live networking with people. So you will go through each of these, why some of the things that will affect you and your mindset when you get into the listening stage, like being stressed.
Oh, it's like these have been plucked straight out of my brain. You're longing to get this over and go home. Sometimes I'm really grateful for having the pub face, and because otherwise it would be really. So I identify strongly with all of these. Not so much desperate to make the sale, because I'm normally, oh gosh, when am I going to find something to eat? Do I have to take my medication? What time's the bus coming? Can I ring Kevin to pick me up? Is it too soon to say I've done everybody and met everybody and can go now? So it's not so much desperate to make the sale, but desperate to get away.
Yeah, if I'm looking at these, I'd say, yeah, they all apply to me except for that one.
Yeah. So, lots of things impact your networking without even realizing. And you might think that you're doing brilliantly and that you're able to go into these events. But if you're focusing on when you can get the breakfast buffet, when you can get out the door, when you can go and grab somebody who's important and not this person that you're talking to right now, when you're thinking about all of those things, you're not listening, you're not hearing what's truly being said. And the chances are the person in front of you is also eyeing up the buffet, getting out the back door, and trying to get a lift home too.
That's so true. So those are all important. And then there's tips. Show you're interested in what they have to say. Rephrase is a great one. So there's a lot of tips in here. There's tips around different types of questions, closed, open, and supplementals. How do you that? I call those also high impact. All right, I'm not going to go through all of this.
One of the books that myself and Sharon have been reading recently is by Phil Jones, and he talks about sales conversation. And one of the things that he says is when you ask the questions, you control the conversation. And that had a profound impact at me. I would go to these meetings and I would wait for somebody to talk to me. But if I actually go and I go armed with questions, like the examples there, somebody was saying, oh, I work in sales. Oh, where do you expect your sales career to take you in the next year? Right? You're starting to control the conversation and steer it. Do you need any help with your sales skills to get you there? And what sort of things are you doing training-wise to develop your skills? And before you know it, they're telling you all the things and you think, gosh, I can go over to Content Sparks, get essential sales skills, add in this, add in this, add in this, and I've got the perfect program for this person. And it didn't really start out like you were wanting to make the sale, but you're using the questions to control the conversation, to find out more and understand more about this person, how you can help them. It may be they need some immediate help that you're not able to do and you can make an introduction. It may be something else. So think about the questions in a really serious, positive way, because even if you're really nervous and you are eyeing up the buffet and the exit, the emergency, do not enter because all the klaxons are going off door. If you can think of some questions and you can ask the questions, you seem like you're interested. And once the answers come back, you become interested. And they remember you for being the person that took an interest in them. Exactly. They go home and they talk to their cat and they don't see anyone for 6 months. Yeah, you've shown them a kindness and took interest and remotivated them again. So It's a really good thing to do.
Yep. And then the other one is on building rapport. So there's something about incorporating words that the other person uses. It's not manipulative. It's the real world. Is you can build rapport by understanding what type of person that is and the types of language they use, the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So visual, I'll look into that. I see what you mean. Do you see my point? So if you can tell someone uses those sorts of words, use the same ones, and it just creates a natural rapport. Kinesthetic, I know how you feel. I've got a handle on that. Those are really subtle little things, but they make a difference. So just to understand the differences, a visual person describes sights, colors, the spectacle. Auditory person is going to describe sounds, bustle, noise, and a kinesthetic person, it's about like feeling the physical, describes their emotions, the heat, the crush, things that you can feel.
Don't mention the heat.
Sorry about that. You're melting over there. I thought it was getting better. And then this module, so developing your confidence. I love this module because as an introvert, again, going into these situations of networking, I always have to build my confidence before I go in because it's not something natural for me at all. Now, the more I do it, the more confident I feel. That doesn't mean I ever like it. It's not, I can never see myself enjoying networking. It's just too exhausting. But I can build my confidence and feel more comfortable at it. Just like with video or presenting or teaching, I was never comfortable on live video. Oh my God, the first time I had to do it, it was terrifying. But now I know, okay, if I make a mistake, if I have to tell Sarah, hey, your fan's too loud, I can't hear myself. It's okay because it's live video and people expect that. I get used to my
dog
voice.
or my kids or all of the other noise that comes with me.
So this is a really good module. It goes through some of the things you can do to build your confidence. So you're definitely going to want to focus on this with your people, especially if they're introverts at all. And you won't always know who's an introvert because I've met so many people who work online, have thriving businesses, have a lot of interaction with other people, and they're introverts. And they say, oh yeah, I'm an introvert. I have to, after I've done something like that, I have to go take a nap. And I can tell you, I probably have to take a nap after this.
Yeah, essential to recharge your batteries.
Exactly. But if you practice, then you get more comfortable because going in can be stressful. So there's some confidence building tools. There's an exercise in this program that you can have people do. Let me see if I can find the slide on it. There's emotional preparation, so things around mindfulness, breathing, mental preparation. So there's a few different tips on here that'll help with your confidence, like deciding what questions you'll ask and planning answers, things like that. Physical preparation. This is really interesting, actually, when I was going through this, because I had somebody do this program who's more of an expert on networking. You wouldn't want me to do this program or to create it. I can teach it now after going through it. And especially as I can go through it at the same time, but I wouldn't have created it myself. But physical stuff like checking out accessibility and locations of things. Where's the bathroom? How far am I? If I have to go, how far am I going to have to run? Little things like that. Where's the water fountain? Things that'll just make you feel more comfortable. Knowing what you're going to wear in advance. Bringing someone with you is nice if you can do that, as long as you don't use them as a crutch. Arriving early. Volunteering your time to help organizers, that helps you get more comfortable. You get to know people. So there's lots of things like that that'll help with building confidence. Planning introductions, all these sorts of things. I'm not going to go through it all. But where's the exercise? Circle of excellence. So this is where there's an exercise, and I'm going to open that up. I'm not going to read it all out, but I just want to show you. It's in with the action guide stuff. So build your confidence with the circle of excellence. Let me make this one page so you can at least see some of it. Can I zoom in a little more? This is going to make it really big. There you go. So this is, I believe, it's an NLP tool. I'm not a big NLP person in general, but this is one that works really well. So you imagine a circle on the floor and how big it is, and you can even draw it out. And then you breathe, you think about a time when you were empowered, all the different feelings that went with that, confidence, that you were great at what you're doing. There's a bunch of different tips for getting your right mindset in and filling it up with that. And then you step into the circle and you imagine you've stepped into that person, that feeling of empowerment again. So you think about a past situation, all the feelings of confidence and all the rest, and then you step in and imagine yourself again. So anytime you have to go into a situation, you can bring that feeling back again. And then you step out, you shake yourself out of the state, come back to neutral. And now you can test it by stepping in again. So it takes more than one time to do this, but then it starts to become natural when you have to bring that feeling back again. It's a great thing to do before you go into any stressful situation where you don't have the confidence. Have you ever tried this, Sarah?
Not this one, but it reminds me of something Paul McKenna does. I'm a big fan of Paul McKenna. I've met him in real life. He's a lovely, lovely person when it comes to teaching things like confidence and sort of getting to know yourself. And I'm not one of these woo-woo people. I'm not hell-bent on personal development. I just happen to like Paul McKenna's stuff. So one of the ones that he likes to do is he gets you to imagine your best self, and then he tells you to imagine yourself in full Technicolor. So you've got a flush on your cheeks, you're wearing your best lipstick if that's what you're wearing, your hair's done absolutely amazing. And then he asks you to visualize this full color image of you as 3D. So it's not a flat like a photograph or a magazine spread, but visualizing your best self as in front of you. And then when you do that, he then asks you to step into the body of your best self. So it's very similar to this, but you start off visualizing a flat something like a photograph that's black and white and then colored and then all of the extra detail. And then you step into that and you visualize you being that confident person.
Yep.
So there's a few variations of it, and it does work. It works really, really well. So if you're not into the circle, you can actually adapt it like Paul McKenna has. You can adapt it to what fits your circumstances, but it's a really, really good technique.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all these things have been done in different variations. You think about it, athletes use the same sort of approach, thinking of visualizing what they're going to be doing. You can use the exact same thing with networking events. So I love that particular module. And then this next module, the planning and following up, this I love as well because it does go through, and I mentioned this earlier, different types of networking meetings because you approach them very differently when you go into a one-on-one versus a group networking. And it's going to be, some are going to be more comfortable for some people versus others. Like I'm much more comfortable in a small group setting or a one-on-one setting versus some big group because it's just too overwhelming, too many people, too much noise. But the downside of the smaller groups is there are fewer opportunities to meet people who are really on the same that are the type of the people that you want to have in your network. So when you go to a group networking event, you have to try and find ones that are appropriate for what you want. So that's why it's important early on, which you do early in the course, is setting some goals as well. But there are lots of tips in here for a whole lesson on one-on-one, on group. Taking control of your networking is about setting up your own groups. Following up is something that's so key. So many people don't do. I know I've definitely been, it's like you're done with the networking event. Oh, thank God I'm done with that. But the best part, the most value you get out of it is the follow-up. So you have to keep doing that. over and over, and not just follow up once, but keep in touch with people. And having a system for that will help you, especially if it's something that you're not comfortable with. So definitely take a look at this module. There are different ways about connecting with people one-on-one. And then there are tips in here for actually planning those meetings, deciding, like you said earlier, Sarah, when it comes to the questions, whoever's asking the questions is in control of the conversation. It's the same with meeting up with people. If you're planning where you're going to meet, where you're going to invite them, stuff like that, running the meeting, even if it's just a one-on-one, you still have to have some sort of agenda. It's not as formal an agenda as you might have in some sort of presentation or a group networking event, but you still have to know what you want to get out of it and what the other person wants to get out of it. So who do you want to meet? How are you going to invite them? Where are you going to meet them? How long are you going to meet them? All those things. And then there's these best practices in here. So, doing research on the person in advance, sending something in advance, all these are great tips. Planning what you're going to say, great tips for going into these one-on-ones. So then you have some action steps there. And just like all of our courses, there's specific action steps for your people and you to start implementing or you learn right away. And that is critical, whether it's interpersonal skills, even if they're doing it as self-study, you can teach the interpersonal skills like this by having people go and practice with another student, if that's possible. So you can have connect people among your student group, or they can practice with a family member or a friend or a trusted colleague. So you can teach this stuff even when it's self-study. If you can do it live, even better, because then you can break people into groups. But you're always going to be making sure you have them do action steps that implement right away. That's a big difference with some courses where it's all theory, where, okay, they know the idea of what the best practices are, but they don't try it. They don't have action steps they take.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people have action steps, and you can see that there's 5 here. But if you have them go out and do one thing, like make sure your social media profiles are up to date, and they go off and do that, and then they come back and you say, okay, the next thing to do is review who your existing connections are on LinkedIn, and they go off and do that. And none of these are so long that it's going to take a month out of their life to do one thing. So they can review their profiles one day, and then review the connections the next day, and then identify the people the day after. So it's small steps, and as they get into the habit of doing it, and it builds upon each other, and then they say, what do I do next week? You say, check your profiles are up to date. And then, but I did that last week, but it's something you should do every week anyway. So check your profiles are up to date. Are they up to date? Yes. Look at your connections on LinkedIn. Have you made any new connections since last week? If you have, are they people that you want to meet up with? Do you need to reach out to them? And once you start getting people taking the action steps and it starts clicking into place for them, it's a really powerful skill that you've taught them. So I just love having these here. When I get PLR from other people, and it is so rare that I buy it from other people these days, I have to sit there, and the first thing I have to do is go through and write action steps. And then I have to go through and then look at the action steps and write learning objectives. And I just get such a sense of relief when I get something from Content Sparks, because it's all done for me. I don't have to sit here and think, what's the goal of this module? What have they got to achieve? How can we do that as an activity? It's all done for me. All the heavy lifting is done. I mean, I'm not being funny. All of us here watching this can write an ebook, but one that makes an impact and gets people doing the things, that's where the real skill comes into it. And I'll just finish this little bit off with, that's why I buy Content Sparks.
Is that my cue to show the banner?
Good.
Show the URL? There you go. That's the sales page. Networking, contentsparks.com/networking skills. So that was my cue. But But I want to show you, we were talking about taking action and having a system. Another thing that's in here with the action guide that's really useful is this networking meetings checklist. So there's one for one-on-one meetings and there's one for group meetings. So this will help take out some of the guesswork whenever you do have a one-on-one meeting or you're going to a group meeting, is making sure, do you know what you'll chat about? Have you done any necessary further research? Here, I can show you a little bit. View, vertical. Well, you can kind of see. All right, very simple checklist. So I just wanted to show you that. All right, next. I said it's one-on-one, there's group networking. So this is another thing, like local meetups. These are great, much easier, low stress, more of them. You can go regularly and really get to know people versus going to live events, which, yes, people are going to more of those now. There are conferences and other things you can go to, but these are more accessible, especially if you don't want to travel. There's always some local ones. And even if your business is worldwide, you can go to local ones to meet other people who are similar, share ideas. They may be in completely different businesses and different industries, but that doesn't mean they're not a good part of your network. Because if they're business people, you can get ideas from them. And actually, it's lower risk. Sometimes you don't want to share ideas with people who are in the exact same industry or business as you. But you can think more outside of the box and get completely different ideas. Like, what's the story? Is it about the drive-through fast food drive-throughs? They got the idea from banks. I think
I never heard that.
Yeah, I can't remember the story. It was something like McDonald's took the idea from bank drive-throughs, or maybe it was the other way around. But the point
drive-throughs.
But the point is the same. You can get ideas from completely different industries. So that's why it's good to always be networking with people. You never know where you're going to get the next great idea. So networking groups, there's more tips in here. I'm not going to go through all of this because we'll run out of time and I want to show you other things. But it'll also help with building confidence. Lots of tips there. And action steps, of course, as we said, you got to be taking action. And then there are tips for actually setting up and running your own networking group, because no matter where you are, there might not be one, but there are people who would want one. And this is a great way to also give you confidence, be in control, make sure you have the right people there, and you'll feel more comfortable, more confident when you're the one running it. And you'll get to know more of the people more easily because they'll naturally want to meet you.
Yeah, I recommend this. Some time ago, back in 2014, we had a whole summer where we did a live event every month, and we did it in a Buddhist temple in the UK. And so they're not the same as Buddhist temples elsewhere. They tend to be stately homes that have been converted. And we chose these because they have a really tranquil vibe. So when you go in, you instantly feel at peace. It's not like when you go into a hotel and you've got the vibe of the hotel, and if it's raining, you've got all of that, and if there's another event, you've got all of the vibes from that event. When you go into a Buddhist retreat and have an event there, it is absolute calm. They radiate calm, they cultivate calm. So everybody who comes through the door goes, oh, how relaxing. So straight away, your people are really chilled people. And the thing that I always used to do, that people used to say to me, get a VA, was I always used to man the desk and greet people as they come in and write out their name stickers and pop it on. Because then I met every single person at that event. I knew every single person's name. And then when I had to do my talk bit, I could say, oh, hi, Dan. Glad to see you got your chair sorted. You were a bit worried where to sit, blah, blah, blah. And I could just talk a little bit more confidently. And that's something that despite being told it was unprofessional and I needed to get a VA to do that, I always insisted on doing that because it was the one way that I could meet every single person.
Yeah.
And, that's something that you can consider for yourself, or you can say, unless you want to meet every single person, who walks through that door, get a VA to do your desk. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed with the number of people coming into the room. So you can choose what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So there's action steps from that. Follow up. The follow up, I said, was one of the really, really important parts. So I think there's stuff about a system. Oh, I know what I want to show you on this. So there's another, let me see if it's in the action steps. The networking tracker. So this is another tool that you're going to find in the action guide folder, which is a tracker. So basically there's different tabs in here that you can use. So you can give this to your students to use. You can use it yourself. And you'll see there's a tracker for one-on-one. So you list individual people that you want to stay connected with, preferred contact methods, all this sort of stuff. Yes, you can use a CRM, a customer relationship management software. You can do that. A lot of those are meant more for sales, but salespeople use those. I like also having this, and it's just a very simple way, very accessible for anyone to use. Have their contacts. There are a lot of expensive, fancy tools also, which have a big learning curve. Groups you want to attend. So there's ways to keep track of your actions, your follow-up, group meetings that you organize. So if you do any of your own. And then there's also people who have contacted you, because you will get contact requests, especially the more you're out there. So you want to make sure you keep track of those people also, and who they are, why they contacted you, actions you took, notes. So use something like this. If you don't give people this or you don't use it yourself, recommend another tool, because it's too hard, it's too easy to lose track of people and what you've done and keep it all in your head unless you have some sort of tracker. So we've given you one that it's going to make life easy in there. So don't ignore that piece that's in that particular folder.
It's also good if you're talking to someone and they mention their wife or their husband's name, or that they've got kids. It means when you pick up with them again after a couple of weeks, you can say, "Oh, how's the wife and kids? How are they doing?" And if you know their names, even better. And if they mention something about a barbecue, how did your barbecue go along? And just by having those little notes, you really stand out in comparison to other people that they network with. And just putting in the little details makes all the difference. And you're thinking, gosh, what can I say when I email them? Oh, wait, he said they were waiting for a new car to be delivered. Has your new car come yet? Have you done any driving? And you start the conversation naturally, but they also feel really good. And oh, he remembered that about me, or she remembered that about me. That's really good. And when it comes round to talking to you and even introducing you to people, the first thing they'll say is, "They're such a good networker." Yeah. And you're,
And actually, this is something you can easily upload into Google Sheets as well. Which, if you do have a VA, I know some people have a VA who will help with networking and finding contacts. So this would be a great thing to share with them, because they might list people and give you a little bit of help on that front. So just another little tip. And then you just go into the next steps. It's the last module in the course, which I'm not going to go through, but you always have to do some extra last action planning at the end of any course to make sure that people are excited and ready to put into place anything that they've missed, forgotten, connect with, and they're taking action. So I'm not going to go any further into that because we're going to start running out of time. And I did want to show the launch bonus, if that's okay. Where is it? So remember, this is a beacon level course. That means it's smaller than our Blazes. It comes with the student materials of the course book and the action guide, all those other worksheets I showed you. some graphics, things like that, and then that slideshow that I was just going through. It doesn't come with a whole funnel of lead generation materials, but it does come with a whole bunch of social media posts in there. So you can use these to just add, put them into social media, onto an image, have them as ideas for emails, lots of different things you can do with those. Just use your imagination. But let me show you this great launch bonus. So this is, again, just for during the launch here that lasts until the 27th at midnight Pacific. All right. So during that time, you get the discount, and then you get this bonus, which is an assessment. We're calling it, what's your motivation profile? So this is your interpersonal preference and unique communication style, because when you understand that, it will help you in your networking. And actually, this is one of those assessments that you could use in other situations as well. I'll show you why if I zoom in a little bit more. You can see a little bit more of it. Okay, I'm going to hide this banner for a second. That's just the URL for the sales page, contentsparks.com/networking skills. And then we can see this. So just depending whether you're networking, selling, leading, whatever, understanding yourself, your communication style is going to be important. So there's a whole bunch of questions that are just answer, it's me, it's somewhat true, it's not me. And you put in a different point value for each. Things like, I don't like being the center of attention. I prefer to interact with people one-on-one rather than in a group. I'm known by others as a good listener. I would prefer to work independently. So you answer all of these. I pick underlying feelings, and you have to be honest with yourself, or you're not going to get a good answer. There's no right or wrong, good or bad answer. It's about understanding yourself. And then the results show your, what we call, motivation profile. So either internally motivated, so you're predominantly focused on your internal thoughts, feelings, and sensations, and you don't usually make it a priority to seek out external stimulation. So you get your energy and motivation from your inner world. You're more reflective. So there's a lot of positives to that. But the point here is, be careful not to isolate yourself. Interact with others in small groups. This is much more me. I tend to like to be myself, not talk to a lot of people. I have to make myself do that. So you have to push yourself to do that. Use your observational and active listening skills to build relationships. So then there's a worksheet, what resonates with you. So think about it, what surprised you, all these different questions to reflect on. And then if your score is at this range, you're more balanced, and there's tips on that, what that means, and some answers for self-reflection. And then the last is externally motivated, and there's tips on that. Making sure you're using your energy constructively, channeling your enthusiasm, lots of different things, because there are strengths and weaknesses for each type of profile. None of them are the perfect one. What resonates, what surprised you, all those different things. So this is a really great assessment to use not only for this course, but for anything that involves communication, management, sales, you name it, anything where you're working with other people or need to work with other people. Sarah, you already know what you're going to do with this, don't you?
I do. It's going to be a quiz.
And then what?
Then they're going to have to opt in and get their answers. And then when they've got their answers, I'll have something otherwise that they can invest in. Because, like I say, for me, this is something that I'm doing with the family to develop our skills together. Maybe in time, as I grow more confident, it may become a course that I sell, and it becomes something that I have on the end of it. But currently, this is just for me.
No, this is going to be great. All right. We're going to wrap up soon. So why don't I show you?
You're being awfully quiet today, viewers. Where are your questions? Where are your
Most people are still, most people are melting depending on where they are.
You're not allowed to mention the he. You are so not allowed to mention that.
Okay. Most people do watch later. And if I can, I'll download this and put it on the sales page as well somewhere, maybe further down for people to be able to look at. So the last thing I want to show is the upgrade pack. So this is the sales page. I'm going to show the URL. contentsparks.com/networking skills, right? And when you add that to your cart, I've got a nice echo going here. It says just one more thing. And you'll see, okay, if you don't want to do anything, you can move forward. Otherwise, there's this upgrade pack. And there's a bonus. And there's a discount on another course, which if you want to learn about, you can click on. Protect your online reputation. The upgrade pack has the module quizzes and sales page copy. Sales page copy is kind of obvious. It's copy that you can use on your own sales page. Module quizzes are quizzes that you can use to test people's learning or to see where they are right now before doing a course, or you could use them after
as
people
lead generators. I love these as lead generators. Get on a live stream and ask these questions, and people will say, oh, you know, whatever, and then you get a real good idea of where they are, and then you can say, okay, I've got an offer for you, or okay, don't need to give them an offer because these group of people are all experienced. I'll move over to YouTube and talk to the people there, or I'll move to LinkedIn and talk to the people there. So it is really good for generating leads and being able to grasp where your audience are.
Exactly. And you can pick and choose. You don't have to use all of them. You can also use them in between modules if you're delivering one at a time and you don't know what to do as a live in between Q&A. You can use this as an icebreaker and start having discussions around it.
Yep.
So there's lots of different things.
And if you didn't pick up the icebreaker course, that might be something you want to pick up for this.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll do some sort of bundle at some point on that, the online courses stuff. But I don't want to distract you.
Yeah. Back to the networking skills. Mush.
Well, I'm actually going to wrap up. So if you have any questions at all, please go in, drop us a comment, send your questions to support@contentsparks.com. That's the one there, support@contentsparks.com. But otherwise, that's the URL for networking skills. And that is the timing on it. Hang on one second. I'm going to just scroll down, make sure you see everything in here. So there's lots you can look at if you have more questions, you're not sure, you just want a high level of what's in a particular lesson. You'll see there's a quick description on each, as well as a description of everything, all the different materials. I showed you a lot of this. There's the launch bonus that I just showed you. The assessment is just available until Wednesday. Today is Thursday, so next Wednesday, but don't let the time slip away, please. And then there are some FAQs as well. Please take a look at these if you make it to that point in the page and you still have questions. There are a bunch here as well. You know, is it right for your audience? How is it different from one of our other courses? There's some ideas here for doing low ticket offers out of this course and high ticket offers and a curriculum, a little sample. So there's a lot of different stuff in here if you're still debating as you get down there. Otherwise, I would say just grab it. Of course, I would say that. But
yeah, because I would say that this is a really good program, and I think even if you don't sell it, you will really benefit from the skills yourself. And you know, it's that time of year where the weather is HOT because we're not allowed to say the word, and to learn something yourself and have it ready for September when things tend to be less HOT and the business world seems to pick up again. So having something ready and a strategy ready to go that will help you grow your business, it's a really worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah. And you can start practicing this now yourself. It's a great time.
Mm.
And it's one of those courses you can teach at any time in the year.
Yeah.
It can go with any curriculum you have, anything with business people where they need to grow their business, start a business, you name it. It just goes with everything.
It is.
And
So,
every type of business and every industry, everyone needs to grow their network. So even if you're just going to be going through it yourself to start with, I would grab it, and then it's all evergreen. This is not
mm,
stuff that's going to change. People have always had to network one-on-one and in groups. So you don't have to worry about it going out of date either. All
yep.
right. So that's why I love this one also. It's versatile. It works for everyone. It goes with everything.
And it
So
works for all niches, and it's a really good thing because it's something that if you're finding you're talking to a lot of, say, tradespeople, you can do business networking skills for tradespeople. If you find yourself talking to lots of piano teachers, it becomes business networking skills for piano teachers, and it just really adapts to the audience. So it's not one of those courses where you've got to put a lot of brain power in it. Some of the courses to make examples of and to add in your little anecdotes, you've got to really put yourself out there to get the case studies and to get the little stories. This one is you've got the little stories already. You've got the case studies just about to blossom, because that can be yourself, and you can go from where you are right now to what happened when you started using these skills. So it's something that it doesn't take a lot of energy, a lot of brain power to get phenomenal results.
yeah.
So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, it's summer, I'm lethargic, I don't really fancy doing anything, actually, you can do this with minimal effort, get great results, and then sell it as a course.
Yep.
And I don't say that about everything. Normally, I'm like, you've got to put a little bit of energy in this to customize it and so on. This one, you can get away with a bare minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to come to you as you go. So wherever there's an example for a skill or something else, for a tip for having more confidence or for planning, you're going to have things pop up in your head immediately that you remember that you've done, or you say, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. That would really help me next time I go into any sort of networking. Or yeah, I was at a networking meeting where I went to coffee with somebody where they arranged it, and the conversation had absolutely no value whatsoever. They hadn't prepared. You from the point of view of the other person, you're going to be able to tell stories and stuff where networking went terribly wrong for you, where you got nothing out of it. All those sorts of stories as well, where it didn't work, where you didn't follow up and you could have gotten a great opportunity. Those sorts of things are great stories too, and people will relate to them. So you have your positive ones and your ones that you learned from, all of that. So take a look, see if it's right for you. I think it will be because it does apply to everybody, but head over to this particular URL, contentsparks.com/networking skills, and let me know what you think and what questions you have. Okay. Pop them into the comments or send them to support@contentsparks.com. And I can't wait to see what you do with it, and get connected with me on LinkedIn, by the way.
Yes, connect with us. We may want to network with you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Take care, everybody. Stay cool. I didn't say the word hot. Stay cool.